Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to Orgasmica, the podcast where we talk all about sexuality, sensuality, and all things healing. And today I have somebody fabulous. That's how I would describe her. Fucking fabulous. Vanessa Santos. She's a funder. She's a creator. She's a pleasure enthusiast, which I freaking love. Yes, please, more of that. She's an entrepreneur and all around badass woman. That's how I will describe you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As you're saying that, I'm like stroking the mic.
You're like, yes, pleasure enthusiast.
Just how you speak is very beautiful.
Thank you for being in this space. And it all worked out so beautifully, which is like so meant to be that you're be sitting in this space right now because you don't live in LA. So it's just so wonderful to have you and talk all about it. Because when I first met you, I met you as a founder of a very big company. Which I had the pleasure to partake in one of the amazing summits, and it was just amazing. And you both and Anna had just like this beautiful, amazing energy. You're a Latina, and you are very forward on not only what you're saying, but also supporting other women. And that's my kind of girl. That's my kind of woman. Let's go.
We practice what we preach.
Yes. And then every time we connect, I feel like I get to know a different layer of you. And boy, oh boy, your life has changed.
Oh my goodness.
Since I met you. since I met you. And it seemed to me that you, not only because you left the company, but also left marriage. You like did a full burning of everything in life.
Yes.
How? Why? When? Tell us all about that.
Absolutely. When I first met you, it was the beginning of my own pleasure journey. I was in therapy uncovering a lot of past traumas as it regarded to sexual abuse. And it wasn't until your beautiful workshop that you held for We All Grow the Amigahood. And I remember looking at the screen, I was like, this woman is so embodied. And you don't really meet people that are fully embodied energetically, because I always say energy snitches. I read energy, I feel energy. And there are a lot of people that can speak really well because they're properly media trained. They know how to do it, but you can tell the difference when someone has lived it. And I remember looking at the screen, I remember telling Anna, I need to know her and I need to be her friend. And I need you to give me her phone number. And Ana, being as generous as she is, she's like, claro que sí, connected us.
Yeah.
And I remember just writing to you and it's like, I need to know everything about what you do, y cómo lo haces, because you exuded such love and you radiated so much sensuality, but in such an intoxicating way. And I remember that's when one of the things that I went back to my therapy session, I was like, okay, I realized that I am a very sensual being, but it's very private because I love keeping my private life private. And I knew that was like the spark of an evolution of uncovering myself. And when you begin to uncover yourself and you remove all of the layers and all of the masks and all of the things that you put on yourself for the sake of surviving, for the sake of getting through, I knew that every year that evolved, every year as an entrepreneur, every year as a woman, it's about reducing and shedding those layers so that you can actually become who you're meant to be and get to know yourself at a deep level. And it was in that exploration journey about my own sensuality, my own sexuality, my own being of who am I, what do I love, who do I want to become, that I started to see all the veils lift. And the reality is I exited last year because we were dissolving the company and we ended up getting it acquired. And myself and Anna both knew that our time had just ended. We did what we needed to do, and we found a new shepherd for the community, and we're both really eager, seeking to walk new paths. She was eager to do her author road, and she has her amazing book deal. I was eager to discover who the fuck I actually am. And I was so lost because I had depleted myself. I broke myself up into a million pieces. I became something to everybody, but nobody to myself. That wasn't fair to my husband at the time. That wasn't fair to my friends. And that wasn't fair to myself. And the one thing I promised myself last year is that I would stop lying to myself, because the moment you stop lying to yourself, you stop lying to other people.
How do you find, that's also beautiful. I literally have goosebumps, look at that. Because that is so beautifully said and put. How do you start realizing that you have been lying to yourself?
when you say yes when you want to say no, when you self-sacrifice so that something else can thrive, when you deplete yourself. One of the things that occurred to me last year in January and February, I got pneumonia twice, back to back. That was my body speaking to me, and I ignored my body because yo empujaba. I was pushing and pushing and pushing.
Latino also, you know, it's like
It's embedded in us.
immigrants and stuff like that. It's like you have to be the
Right.
one that works the most,
The
right?
feelings stay down. The business has to be the one that prevails, right? Especially when you condition yourself. I raised myself through corporate America. And I say raised myself through corporate America because I had to figure out who I was in all those different environments, especially usually being the only Latina executive at these major Fortune 500 companies. And I was tired of saying yes when I knew I needed to say no. But I said yes because I loved the people and I loved missions and I loved the things that I was doing. But it was at the cost of me until I woke up one day. My body was shut down. My body was going through a lot. And I remember calling my therapist and I'm like, something is not right. And she's like, well, I can work with you in so many other ways, but you need to see an actual doctor. And I went and I got some blood work done. And I was just shocked at the state of my body as somebody who cares a lot about taking care of myself, that I had let myself feel so ragged. And that was the beginning of the dismantling. The dismantling of the identity as a CEO, dismantling of a wife. My husband at the time and I decided to consciously uncouple. We just knew that we were both very different people and wanted different things. And we weren't serving each other in the way that we deserved to serve each other. I decided to exit the business. I decided to exit the city that I lived in, go to the desert, essentially to let it all just burn down and sit in that. And just sit with that discomfort and sit with myself, look at all the pieces on the floor and figure out what stays, what goes, and who am I so that I can be a fully embodied woman. And I keep seeing that image of you when you were opening and you did like this thing. And I'm like, something so simple left such an impression in my mind. And there are moments like that in my life where I just have so much reverence for women who are able to do that. And I'm like, I feel like that about myself on the inside, but I wasn't living it out loud. And I was ready to do that.
I love that. It's just such a, well, it requires so much courage, which I definitely want to talk about, you know, because it's so much courage to let it all burn down and without knowing what's on the other side. Also, societally, we are taught like you build something and you keep it because it took you so long to build it. So why would you walk away from the thing, right? And they never question is like, well, are you enjoying it? Are you liking it? Is it something that you like? No, you build it, so you stuck with it forever. You know what I mean? It's like that mentality is so toxic into that type of space, you know, into building something, like you said, from basically nothing, and then being very successful at something, and then walking away fully from it. And I think you and I have that similarity. For me, like the journey of awakening that part of myself is because the body too. I was in such a cortisol intensity that my liver was overworking, and then my hormones were crashed, and so my libido was down. And so I was like, oh, wow, like, but I also love cortisol, like, and I will say, like, you know, hello, my name is Virginia, I'm addicted to cortisol, because I love the sensation of, like, I can do everything, and like, it's an addiction. It's such an addiction, such an addictive sensation, you know, and I love it. I'm like, give it to me, shoot it at me, you know, it's like, I love it, you know, but also knowing what's on the other side of it, and like not, which is disconnection, which is like that high. It's also not grounded, and two, a lie because I'm not in it, you know, like I'm doing the things, and outside it looks like I'm doing fucking phenomenal, right? But then on the inside, I'm like so disconnected and dissociated that I'm like, am I like, I'm married, but am I married? You know, like I'm a founder, but like, am I happy being a founder? Like I am this, but like, am I happy being this? Like, am I enjoying it? So it takes so much deep courage to like go through that threshold. But I feel like even more so another layer is that you're a Latina.
Yeah.
And now, did you grow up here or you grew up?
I grew up in New York City. But I spent my summers in the Dominican Republic and in Ecuador. Right. So I spent my summers abroad in the respective countries where my family lived. So it's it was like I was in the U.S. for school, and then I would go to the summer, and it was a completely different life. So it was consistently like, who am I and how do I fit in? Because in Ecuador, the Dominican Republic, you are not Latina enough. In the US, you're too Latina.
Yeah.
So it's a constant disparity.
Yes, of who am I, right? It's like also identity, like what does that
Right.
mean, right? And so then we add ourselves identity to it, which seems that you did everything by the book in certain
I tried.
areas, right? You know, it's like, by the book of what they are, people expect of us, specifically as Latina women, and like da 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 da. And so where did you find that courage? Also, question, did you walk away from everything all at once, or it was like this first thing kind of catapulted like the other things?
It was a domino effect, but it happened in such a short, condensed period of time. Usually people do one big milestone a year. I did them all. I moved, exited a business, lost some friends, exited a marriage, lost myself. Also, I discovered my own identity as a queer woman. So it was all of this at once, and then had to also reckon with my health and what I've done to my body and what the blood work showed. Right? It couldn't. Certain things just don't lie.
Right.
The maths.
Yeah.
And I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I did everything in my power to be the perfect little fucking eldest daughter.
Yeah.
I took care of everybody.
Your eldest.
Exacto. I did everything that I was supposed to do until I was like, wait, I'm doing it all, breaking myself apart, but I'm not the one that's happy. And the reality is, how can I actually be fully in integrity if I'm not happy with myself?
Yeah.
That's not how things, and the people who love me don't want that for me either.
Yeah.
And you, como lo malacostumbras.
Yes.
I don't know what the English word is for that.
Yes. I don't either, but
Lo
people look it up.
malacostumbras. Like,
That's my legal
right?
podcast, so I just know.
You set people up for expectations that aren't
Yes.
even based on reality.
Right.
And the courage was just one day of, I lost my voice. And for me, my voice is so important. I love speaking.
Yeah.
My throat chakra and it's a constant relationship. I love to be able to express myself. And when you have pneumonia, your lungs are collapsing. You can barely breathe. And I'm like, I'm healthy. I work out. I eat very well. But I am killing myself at work because I love those little hits.
Yeah. Oh,
Cortisol hits, dopamine hits, all the little hits, because I push myself through. That's how I've conditioned myself. And when your body dice, te sientas o te siento.
Yeah.
And the universe is like, no, you're going to chill. I had no choice. I had fevers. My body was shaking. I could barely move. And how am I supposed to lead anything from that broken place?
Yeah.
And that goes against what I preach about, which is about honoring the self. And that's why my company that I'm building, the tagline is, build a dream, honor the human. Because I didn't do that before. I was so in my masculine energy, build. And it was just a moment of, well, this body isn't serving me, and I only get this one body. I have to honor her. And from that moment of making that internal decision, it all cascaded and all just kind of like, well, se jodió todo, and there's nothing to do but to own it. There's nothing to do but to just
Was it also
own
like
it.
at the same, even though scary, I'm assuming, but also relieving?
It was very scary, incredibly liberating.
Yeah.
It was the start of my reclamation.
Yeah.
It's incredibly liberating to set yourself free, because when you hit rock bottom,
Yeah.
there's nothing else.
Yeah. You're
but-
like, where do I go
Right.
except up like this
Right.
point?
There's nothing.
Yeah.
The only way through is through. And then
Yeah.
when you get through it, you look back and I'm like, why was I so afraid? And that's why so many people stay where they are,
Yep.
because they're so
The
afraid
fear.
of discomfort. And I realized that for me, comfort is where my past exists, but discomfort is where my future lives. And if I am going to grow and succeed authentically, I need to be incredibly uncomfortable. And I wasn't used to that, because I loved keeping things under control, because it gave me a false sense of control. But you can't control shit in this life.
Oh my God, no. I mean, I talk all the time on how control is literally just such a lie that we had to create in order to live in this world.
To survive.
Like to survive. It's like a survival mechanism, but it's absolutely just a lie. Like the fact that we are like, okay, I'm gonna, like, even like my plans for like this year, I'm like, I don't freaking know. I don't know if I'm gonna be alive tomorrow. You know what I mean? And it's like, I really
Precisely.
don't.
We
you
have
know?
no idea.
I have no idea. And I have like so many friends that I have had like car accidents or this or that has happened. Like your life changes, your partner gets a disease. Like you really like, but we cannot live in that state of panic all the time, which is why then we feel like we can control of the thing, you know? But really, truly, we have no control over anything. And to me, even though that is also scary because, wow, like I have no control, at the same time, it is very liberating because it's like, then I can like breathe out.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't have to contain it. It's not up to me for, you know, like for my husband to like walk out the door and I'll get run by a bus. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that in my head is like when this happens to us, because it just recently happened to a family member, you do think, what could I have done? Because we still believe that we still have control over not only ours and our life, but also about other people's life and death, you know, like, and like, that's one of the things that we're for sure, we're gonna die. We don't know freaking how.
Right. None of us are getting out of this
No.
alive. And I've been studying a lot about uncertainty and neuroplasticity and really recoding and rewiring my cells.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to become the person that I have always looked up to.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's this vision that we each have of ourselves, of who we know we can be, but there's a massive gap between who you are and what you want.
Yes.
And so I knew that I needed to shorten the gap because I was trying to find joy and happiness in all of the wrong things.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times the universe works in your favor. Anna and I really tried absolutely everything possible to go against headwinds. There were so many socio-political and economical things occurring that was completely out of our control.
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest impetuses for the company being acquired. Otherwise, I would have kept pushing. I would have kept going because I love the mission. I loved what we were doing. I loved what she created, right?
Yeah.
She started with the idea
Yeah.
that changed an entire landscape and an industry.
God, so
and I, as the shepherd of that, I was like, I want to honor it, but you can't honor it if you don't even know who you are anymore and you've lost yourself and you're trying to fight against an administration that you feel so helpless against. You're trying to fight against socioeconomical, political headwinds and organizations and community people that have so many high expectations of you, and then you're like, I can't serve everybody.
No.
And then what ends up happening is you collapse.
Yeah.
We were so fortunate that we had buyers interested, and we were able to do that acquisition and that exit. But for me, I knew that if I were to stay involved in some way, I would do it for all the wrong reasons. And I can't keep doing that anymore.
Right,
it's not
right.
fair to anybody involved,
Right.
and it's not fair to myself.
For the people also that you're serving. You said that you put your happiness and things that were not necessary. What were those things?
Well, the first thing is chasing money and titles. I grew up in incredibly humble surroundings, New York City, Section 8, welfare. And so for me, I knew that there had to be a way that I can provide for my family. My first job was at 13. I was already helping my family pay the bills by 15. I was raising my siblings. Very typical eldest daughter, but you carry a lot of unnecessary baggage. By 8, 9, and 10, I was filling out all of the documentation paperwork for my family members so that they don't get deported. And then you have that pressure, if I fill something out wrong, are they going to get deported?
Yeah.
And that's a lot for a child to carry.
So much.
And then you take that energy into the workplace. And then you see the fact that everyone around you comes from Ivy League, comes from really high, prestigious, elitist environments. And then here I am from the hood. Somehow in these spaces, because I knew that a way for me to enter is to mirror what they were doing. And so that became the beginning of, I'm not being myself, I'm playing a persona.
Identity, like
It
you
was an
put
identity.
like an identity outside of
And I
who
needed
you
to
really
fit
are.
in because it was survival. My family, I was going to get us out of the hood, and I did. I became a millionaire by 27. I lost my money by 33. I had multiple businesses across. I've always had side passions.
Yeah.
I never just did one thing. I've gained every title that I thought I could. I got Forbes honoree. I got inaugural award for Entrepreneur of the Year at the Kennedy Center. All the things that you think are great, and they're great for those little momentary hits.
Yeah.
And yes, it looks cute on your LinkedIn, but at what cost?
Right.
I was working 65 hours a week.
Holy. Yeah.
I was working 65 hours a week. I was chief everything officer. And then I wasn't being a partner, a wife, but more than anything, I wasn't being a friend to myself.
It's so important, and I want to talk about this because I feel like there needs to be a revolution of so many things, but on how women work. And I am such a believer that this needs to be radicalized. It needs to be like burned down for our own good and the good of the world and the society. I so deeply understand why, like your story, we had to even like previous generations had to step into this world in this way, right? As women, when we stepped into the workforce and we had to be taken seriously. And so we put the suits on and we put the this and we lower our voices and we couldn't be emotional and we couldn't run down and like and all those things.
You adjust and you
adjusted.
contort.
We controlled as women, we adjusted, but what ended up happening is after a couple of generations is that we ended up playing the game like them. When our body does not work in that sense at all, once or ever, not one bit. And so what I'm seeing a bunch of, right, women that come to me are women that they are like, I'm disconnected from my sexuality, but more so they're burnt out of life. They're burnt out of life. And they can't find pleasure, which we will go into, but they can't find pleasure in absolutely anything.
Right.
But they do have the 2 kids, they do have the dog, and they do have the
house, the
and the
career.
company, you know? And it's like, yes, on the outside, that woman is a success, that woman has it all. And then we put titles on women like she's a superwoman, she's a Wonder Woman, she
She's
can
so
do it all,
resilient.
she's so amazing, she can do everything. Like, and then I'm meeting these women and they're absolutely a shell of themselves. And it's really interesting because they're also women in power that impose these things, right?
Very much
Instead
so.
of being like, yes, you know, like you have your period, like all these things. It's like, no, they impose. We're going to keep it going, the toxic masculine energy in the workforce. And instead of women taking places of leadership in this industry and being like, let's change how we work, they keep it going.
Yeah.
Right? Like one of the like more horrific people that I have met in my entire life, and it's the studio heads, it's a woman who got into that role and kind of became bitter about it because we're not designed to be that. And then she punished other women.
Right.
And that is a very big issue. I don't think the men are the issue. I think the system is the issue. And I think the way we as women play into the system is the issue. I am a huge believer that a company should run, like if it would run like this, women would be so much happier and like the company would rise so much. Like we have a 4-week cycle, right? And so like when I'm on ovulation, I can like overwork any fucking man.
Sexy. I feel great about myself. I'm creative.
Oh my God.
Throw anything at me. I
Add
got
me,
it.
all of it. Put me on the meetings. I will get all the
Right.
money. Like, you know, like I
100%.
will fucking like get me the CEO of something sorts, you know, like I will fucking kick this ass, you know, but during my period, during like that where I am more quiet, where I'm more introspective, where I'm like feeling like my body is going through so much. I'm shedding. I'm literally bleeding.
Literally.
Literal.
Literal.
Bleeding in between my legs. Like, let me rest so then I can come back and kick ass again. As a founder, and like now that you have gone through all these things, what do you think about that?
I love what you're saying because that's actually so much about what we spoke about at We All Grow. That was really the mechanism for change for me personally as a leader. Because coming from corporate leadership, where you are trained to act in a certain way, you use certain vernacular. I was managing a $36 million P&L. That is a very different level of pressure. Then you go into a different ecosystem where so many people look up to you, and what you say and what you do is highly scrutinized, right? And to your point about women in the workforce, all of the most difficult bosses I've ever had actually been women. And so for me, I was like, I need to make sure that that's not me. And I need to tap into my femininity. And the beautiful thing about what We All Grow did for me is allowed me that permission. But you have to give yourself the permission. And so I instituted for myself, I need a mental health break for the week, and I instituted it for the team.
Beautiful.
I understood my rhythms. I know that if I'm in my luteal phase, I am completely withdrawn, disconnected, and that is not the time for me to move and create. But that's not always possible in an environment where if partners want to work with you, if there's an event, if there's a season. So you're in this constant wheel. There's this dichotomy of lo tengo que hacer because you have to, it's in front of you, and if you lose the opportunity, they're going to go somewhere else. And I also have to honor myself. And so there's this disconnect. And so that disconnect is going to be felt. And I agree with you that business needs to become more feminine because femininity is actually power.
So powerful.
That harmony of masculine and feminine energy is absolutely possible. The system is absolutely broken, but I think as women, we can do a much better job supporting ourselves and not holding ourselves to such a expectation of how we're supposed to look and feel so that we can feel more comfortable with another woman in power. Every single woman I ever met in the last 2 years would confide in me all of these deep, dark secrets. And I'm like, I had no idea you were going through this. I had no idea you were suffering. Why are you still managing your business this way? Why? And I'm like, if I'm asking them and trying to push them to change, I need to change too.
Yeah.
And I love that you're thinking there should be a 4-cycle work week for women in business general. I think that's easier if you run your hours and you're an entrepreneur. I think in corporate, there's some challenges because it is such a stringent environment.
Yeah.
But I do think that women have the capacity and the power, the collective power to change shit.
Yeah.
We're absolutely slowly but surely dismantling this patriarchy.
Yeah.
And it really just takes conversations like this. And this is why the conversation that you're having in your podcast is so important, because not many people are talking about it in this way.
Yeah.
We're still talking about being the girl boss and achieving this revenues. And how about you understand that your asset are yourself? What are your IPable, tangible assets that no one can take away from you? Your health. Si no tienes health, you don't have shit. I don't care how much money you're making. If your mental health is not in place, you're not going to create from a place of abundance. You're going to create great, but then you're going to burn out. And then at what cost? If you don't have a connection to yourself and your body, life is about pleasure. The interesting thing is last year, my word of the year was pleasure. And I love that for me, but when you pick a word of the year, the universe is going to magnify where you're actually lacking.
Yeah.
And if women were more in tune with their inner selves, their body, their circadian rhythms, their menstrual cycles, and apply that to how they move, it just takes a few women to do that so that other women can feel like they have permission. Because the reality is, a lot of women are unsure if it's even possible. So the fact that you speak so openly about it and that I speak so openly about it, I really do believe that other women will be like, you know what? Fuck this shit.
Yeah.
See, just in my menstrual cycle, why am I going to add so much to my plate?
Exactly.
Let me put something down so I could pick something up and pick up the right things.
Ooh, pick up the right things. It's like so right, because that's also the other part, right? We are wired to say yes to everything, because the narrative is the opportunity that might change your life is just might be right there, might be just right there, and you're gonna miss it because what? You're bleeding. That's for, like that, which is so stupid and
Can
crazy.
I pass on this audition, please? I have my period.
I know. It's wild. But at the same time, I'm like, I love these experiments that they're doing on men where they're putting the things on like their period and they're like, so would you come to work on level 2? And they're like, I'm dying. And we're like, okay, well, I went to school on level 8.
Right.
I would like pass out, you know, and then I would be like scared that I missed school. Like, what the hell? Like, I would literally pass out from pain. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
what we've
and
been
it's
through.
insanity. And then you expect me to sit in math class? Like, with this pain, it's insane. It's like the way that we're taught from when we're young on how not to honor our bodies. And that is the issue, because that is what has happened to us all through it. If the conversation is always like, it doesn't matter that you're bleeding or not, you're still going to show up. It doesn't matter like, oh, you're overreacting with your pain, or you're da-da-da-da. And then it's like, you still have to sit in class. You still have to go to the gym. You still have to do the thing. Then, of course, all these women are overlooking themselves. Of course, we are putting other people in front
We're
of us.
ignoring our bodies. As you were speaking, there's this vision that came to me, and I was like, oh my God, I still have PTSD from that, something to work through in therapy. I remember very vividly being in a boardroom presenting to our senior C-suite. And I remember the fact that right before that meeting, I told my boss, I don't know if I feel good to present, not because I'm nervous, not because I'm not capable. These are the worst cramps I've ever had. And I have a migraine, and like, I feel like I'm losing my eyesight. Like, my whole body was shutting down. And it was unfortunate that her position was, you just got to get through it. It's only 30 minutes. Yeah. And I was like, well, my part is 30 minutes, but I have to sit in that meeting for 3 to 4 hours. And I sat there looking across from these men that were just mansplaining things to me, interrupting me as I was trying to speak while I'm absolutely bleeding and raging inside. And I'm like, at first I was like, I'm furious. This is so unfair. And then I was like, oh my God, I am so powerful. Yeah. I am sitting here with a level 5 pain, bleeding. Like, my pad could not sustain the level of blood that was coming out of me. My head was throbbing, and I'm presenting figures and numbers and a digital technology that's going to revolutionize all these things. And the moment I leave, I go to my car because I was like, I need to go get more pads. I pass out. I faint out of just exhaustion. And that is not something that we should be glorifying.
No.
I used to glorify, I've worked so-and-so hours and I'm barely eating
Oh,
lunch.
1,000%. I glorified like not sleeping.
It's
It's like
ridiculous.
I slept 3 hours tonight because I'm like, why did we glorify that? I feel
We
like the
created our
more
own
overworked
cages.
people were, the more busy people are. It's still happening, like the busyness, it's like a competition of who is the most busy person. And I'm like,
Girl,
I could
everybody's
give,
fucking busy.
yeah.
Relax. I don't
And
give a
also
shit.
I could give two fucks,
Exacto.
like 2 fucks if you're
And you
busy
know
or
what?
not.
I use the term busy. Like, are you busy? Yes. You know what busy is? I'm on the couch cuddling with my 2 boys.
Yes.
Busy.
Yes. Yes. But it's not a competition of who's the more productive. It's the productivity thing. Because it's like, yeah, I'm always busy because I always have something to do. But also something to do is also exactly laying on the couch, taking up,
Yep.
staying in my bath for like 2 hours. You know what I mean? It is like because I need
Yeah.
and want to, and that is also busy. But it's not like a productivity of like, what did you do this week? Like, what did and like, or like, I have this, I have
And how
5
does your
meetings
body
tonight. I was
feel?
like, 5 meetings today is not a thing. I'm like, why are you doing that to yourself? That's what I think when somebody tells me that. I'm like, why are you doing that
The
to
more
yourself?
productive we become, the more disconnected we are from ourselves and our bodies.
Yeah.
I remember my assistant begging me to take a 30-minute break. And I'm like, but I just have so many meetings, right? And every time somebody needed something, and it was this constant fear of saying no because you were also afraid of letting those people down. And then
Yeah.
for people to say, who does she think she is? I was at max capacity. All of my pots were boiling. The water was boiling. Any little thing was going to set me off.
Yeah.
And the extreme level of productivity created an extreme disconnect in my body. So of course I wasn't having sex. Of course I wasn't feeling sexy
Yeah.
because I was operating on
from the-
left brain, masculine energy, outward, external. I wasn't operating inside. I wasn't taking the time to get to know myself and my body. And the more we actually adjust and prioritize our priorities so that our calendar reflects our rhythms and our natural cycles, we then can feel more into our bodies and create and build from a very different place. But that takes learning and takes a lot of sovereignty. And that's why sovereignty is my word this year, is
I
to
love the
make
word
sure that I
sovereignty.
own how I build consciously
Yes.
and not because of expectations, or also expectations I set for myself.
Expectation systems, like sovereignty is, I love the word sovereignty. I say it so much because the sovereignty of a woman in her sexuality for me is absolutely everything. And what I mean with that is everything. It's like how I dress, how what I put in my body is not because like this diet, right? Like that's the thing. It's like everybody's doing, I grew up with like the zone, everybody did
Yeah.
the zone, and now everybody's keto, right? And nobody is asking themselves like, am I feeling good?
What does my body love?
Like, do I like this food?
Right.
It's just like, no, we're all going like this side and then this side. And the same with body types. I'm in the entertainment industry, so I see it so
Oh my God,
prominently.
you're under a microscope all the
100%.
time.
And it's like, but it's also body types like all of a sudden it's like, okay, Kim Kardashian's body was famous at some point with like the Jennifer Lopez. So curvy was a little bit more, no? And so then everybody goes to that. And now it's like everybody took Ozempic, so everybody's skinny as hell. And so then everybody is like, but almost like there's a lack of sovereignty within that. And people are not realizing when you're just going with what the trend is, you lose yourself. Because what do you feel good in your body as? Not because all these celebrities are looking at a certain way, but like, do you feel good in your body? Because you can be skinny as hell and also feel not good, and you could be curvier and feeling better. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's so interesting. And it's a constant reminder because you were saying it's a practice, but it's also a constant practice because the system and the culture will tell you otherwise. So you constantly have to be like, no.
Yeah.
You constantly have to be like, that's not me. When I go to red carpets or when I go and try dresses from different brands, right? They're sizes 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And I'm always like, ooh, am I going to find something that is my size, right? Because there's not a lot of brands
No.
that
cater
that
to
will walk the
a
red
real
carpet.
woman's body.
Yeah. And so then I put dresses and I always find something. But at the same time, then I walk the red carpet and then I see all this. And you know what? I started being like, oh my God, I'm feeling so, instead of the comparison, I'm feeling so good on my body because I feel different and not in a bad way.
Right.
I stand out because I don't have everybody else's body.
And you
I
don't
have
want to look
my
like everybody
body.
else.
No, I look like myself and I have my body. And the thing is, the standing up is not because I'm skinny or not, The standing up is because I love being inside
You
of this
love
body.
the body and the skin that you're in
Yes.
because you honor her and you
Yes.
respect her.
Yes.
And respecting her isn't trying to find and fit into whatever trend is of the moment, because then
Yes.
you're becoming something to everybody and nothing to yourself.
100%.
I love it when I see you on the red carpet because I can tell. I can
I'm like, I'm telling
absolutely
myself.
tell. And I think that's so beautiful. I remember Oprah saying, like, you need to be full of yourself. Why are we so harsh on women who want to be full of themselves?
God.
The only way I can give you anything is if my cup runneth over, so I have to be full of myself.
And interesting that that word is something negative. When you break it down, is something so beautiful. It's like, I'm full of myself.
Right.
It's like I'm full of who I am, of what I embody. That's an embodied person. And then we use that into the negative, right? We use that as like, oh, that person's so full of themselves.
Because people want us so that we're digestible so they can control
Yeah.
us. And sovereignty is I belong to nobody but myself.
exactly.
I belong to nobody but myself. And I love my body in all her forms, even through these growth stages, right? As you continue to grow, as you get into your 40s, your body is going to adapt. It's going to adjust. It's not going to react the same. And for me, I remember in my 20s, teenagers and 20s, I was always an athlete. And I used to do modeling, and I used to do off-Broadway. And so there was a certain physique that you needed to maintain.
Yeah.
And then when you did events, obviously you wanted to be sample size. I felt lucky that the athleticism allowed me to do that. But then as I became more in tune with myself, I'm like, actually being this skinny is not that nice. And I like having curves, and I don't care if I fit into this size. I love how I feel when I can hold myself. I'm like, okay, I can feel you, girl.
Yes,
There's
yes,
something
yes.
here. But the women that I find the most beautiful, men, women, whomever, it's somebody that I can tell loves themselves. And I don't walk away and be like, did you see her body? Did you see his body? Never.
No.
It's always, wow, that energy was so beautiful. Because you never forget how somebody makes you feel. At the end of your stage of life, because we're all getting out of this, where none of us are getting out of this alive. None of us are going to remember your LinkedIn title, what you accomplished. We're going to remember how the fuck you made me feel.
Yeah, 100%. And you can see that, right? When people write things about other people, right? Like somebody that passes, nobody is like, oh my God, my friend who was the founder of, you know what I mean?
They're gonna be
It's-
like, she was magnetic. She was
Yes.
full of life.
She made me this feel. She showed up
Right.
for me this way. You know, like that's how we talk about people that
Imagine
are
if
not
those
here.
became our core values, we would hold ourselves to such a different
Oh my God,
regard.
1,000%, 1,000%. So let's quickly talk about pleasure.
Yes, I love talking
and
about
how did you come back to it? We understand now why you lost it and how so many women have lost it, because we're so in our head and in that masculine energy that we don't have a chance and we don't give ourselves a chance. Because yes, we are like, what if we miss this opportunity? I'm gonna schedule that meeting, but we can also say, I will see you in 4 days.
Yep.
But it's scary to say that because it's like the world has taught us not to listen to our body that way. And so totally understand why you lost it. And then the reclamation of it. Where did you start your reclamation of your pleasure?
The reclamation of my pleasure began, and this was with my ex-partner, when sex began to hurt. And I'm like, sex is not supposed to feel painful, not in this way. And I had to keep going back, like walk back the cat and figure out where was this coming from.
Yeah.
My body was tensing up.
Yeah.
Why was my body tensing up?
Yeah.
I was overworking myself, so I didn't actually have to deal with what the hell was going on inside. And the
Yeah.
moment that I started really focusing and working with my sex therapist,
Yeah.
she's the one that helped me uncover, oh, okay, well, you have had, patterns of abuse,
Yeah.
physical abuse, sexual abuse, right? The first time I was molested, I was 13. Well, there was a previous time when I was 5. And so when you add all of that up,
Yeah.
and you don't ever process it, because I tried talking about it when I was little and I was dismissed. When you go to an elder and you are dismissed, it tells you that it doesn't matter. And when I remember trying to share at 13 that I had a crush on a girl, and I was told that that's not okay, it's a sin. So then I go to church, and the church made me do like tres Santa Marias or lo que sea.
El rosario completo.
Right, to like make it go away. And then I'm sent away for the summer, and then I'm molested that summer. So I saw it as, oh, this is punishment. And so you start internalizing these beliefs.
Yes.
And these beliefs become your personality.
Yes.
And so my personality was, well, The harder I worked, the more successful, the least someone could hurt me. So then I created this very tough exterior, but on the inside, I'm the most sensitive person. So the reclamation began when I started doing work with my sex therapist and realizing that I had to heal from all of the abuse that occurred in my life and honor it, and not from a place of shame. For some reason, when women are assaulted and raped, we feel so much shame, but it is not our shame to carry. It is not our shame to carry. We have to forgive ourselves first, because so much of I personally held myself responsible, and I'm like, wait, I don't want to have this happen.
Yeah.
And so the reclamation began with understanding where this was coming from, where this tension was coming from, because I'm like, I love sex. I love being sensual. I love being in my body, but I wasn't feeling that with my partner because I was so disconnected. I was too busy working, and I was too afraid to deal with what was happening inside. And then when you have sex therapy or actually speak about it with people you trust, you have no choice but to put the cards on the table. And then you're like, oh, these are the things that I need to nurture. It's the things that are scary, but are the things that are going to lead to my liberation.
Yeah.
And so once I started having conversations with myself, with my therapist, journaling about it, and healing my body from those traumas and making peace with it and having just acceptance as something that happened for me, not to me, that's when the work of reclamation began. And then I made it a mission to make pleasure an anchor point in my life. And that's why pleasure was my word of last year. And I was like, pleasure for me is not just about intimacy and sex. Pleasure is about finding pleasure in all the things, and eating slowly, and taking my time with my food and not rushing through meals, in making sure that I'm taking my time when I get ready, when I walk my boys. But we don't often give ourselves that because we have to get to the next meeting. We cannot miss this. We cannot miss that. And the beautiful thing about choosing word of the year, such as pleasure, is that the universe is going to show you where you're lacking it, and I was lacking it in all the areas. And the reclamation began when I started to really take control of my sexuality by healing myself first, so that I can then understand, how does sex look like and feel like for me? What does that mean? And understanding that pain is just my body was storing it, not necessarily that it was a bad thing. So it was a lot of also reprogramming.
Yes.
That it's being sexual and in your beautiful feminine or masculine, however you want to identify, is beautiful. It's not dangerous anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a beautiful thing when we do the reclamation, because a lot of it, we try to do it in our head, but it really is in the body.
That part.
It's like, it really truly is, like, it starts with understanding, right? That's why we have a brain, because we need to understand it. And it's beautiful to understand where. But, from where to understanding to the practice, there's a bridge. And a lot of the healing happens in between those,
Yep.
Into
And your
coming
tantric
down.
workshop helped me a lot too, by the
Oh,
way.
good.
I don't know if I've ever told you that.
No.
I remember downloading that video and watching it over and over and over.
Oh, good.
And those somatic practices and the breathing and the feeling into your body really does something to connect yourself to, you connect yourself in a way that you're like, oh my God, why am I stopping myself from having an orgasm?
Yes.
Why am I stopping myself from feeling pleasure?
Yeah.
And it's because my mind was thinking that it was a head thing. It's actually a body thing.
It's a body thing. And there comes so much with just even the word pleasure, people feel guilty for having it. People feel I shouldn't, or it's a sin, or whatever we have equated, because we have equated pleasure with just sex, right? And so we have to also dismantle that the word is not just only sexual, but it is in all things, because sexuality lives in all things. And so it's just like that dismantling of the word, and then, but it's still just the word or just feeling it. As women specifically, we feel very guilty of having time for pleasure. I'm like, just touch the grass, and they're like, but like my son needs
we have
me,
to earn
or
it.
like I have to or like, okay, like a lot of women feel guilty for taking too long to have an orgasm, right? But like even the journey of an orgasm is pleasurable, and you're stopping it because it's like, oh, it was taking so long.
It didn't happen at this time, or women think
He
that
might
it
be
just happens
tired.
with
It's like we're
penetration.
just thinking of the other person all the freaking time. It's like, is he tired?
That's
And I'm like, who
crazy.
gives a hell? Like he
Are
can
you
change
tired?
positions.
Right, exactly. But we also have to guide our partners.
Yeah.
If we don't tell them what we want and what feels good and what doesn't feel good, they're not going to know. But we are not taught to advocate for ourselves.
But also a lot of women don't know. And so it's like the one of the first things is like the exploration, and like coming back into your body, like you were saying, is like exploring yourself, exploring like, the trauma, reprogramming the trauma, and then coming back into the body and being like, oh, what can pleasure be for me now?
And how to pleasure yourself.
Yeah.
Because for me personally, I know that if I'm able to pleasure myself and love myself in a way, I have all that data and education so that I am with a partner. I could say, well, this is what I like.
Yeah.
And this is what I don't. I didn't do that before.
Yeah.
I would just do it because I knew it would be better for my partner, but I would ignore what my body was either craving or not wanting.
Yes. Yes. It's such a mentality that we have to change. Speaking about what we want, because listen, what you do in life, you do in bed. What you do in bed, you do in life. It is always how it happens. And so it's like if you are not speaking out outside, right, in the world of saying your needs and say what you want, it's really hard for you to speak your needs in the bedroom about pleasure. You know, if you don't know how to receive a compliment, it's really
If you're
hard for
deflecting
you
it.
to like receive pleasure. It all is connected. And so it's like you have to understand that what the things that you do in life, it does reflect into the pleasure that you can have in sexuality, you know, like receiving things, saying no to things, you know, because a lot of us is like, we're hurting, it's painful, and we're not saying no, you know, and also we're not saying no outside when we're like overworked and can you take over this meeting? Sure, you know, when the actual answer is no. You know?
Precisely.
And so it's like it's all interconnected with it.
I love that you said what happens in the bed happens outside. One, I've never heard that before. And two, when you connected it, I'm like, oh my God, that's genius.
Yeah. Yes, it is just so true. You know, I have found that. I'm like, the more I open myself in the world, and vice versa, the more I open myself in sexuality, the more I can be sovereign in my life when I'm sovereign in my sexuality. Because fuck, like, who are you going to tell me, like, what pleasure? Like, I know my body.
Right.
I know how to pleasure myself.
Right.
I know how powerful I am because I am in touch with that. So when somebody comes being like, you cannot do that, I'm like,
Says
excuse
who?
me. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or like,
Excuse me?
you have to do this and it doesn't feel aligned. I'm not going to do that,
Right.
you know? And it feeds off each other. And it's just such a beautiful way to like reconnect to ourselves.
Your body
Pleasure.
gives you signals, we just ignore it because our mind is so busy justifying it. Our mind wants to keep us safe.
Yes.
And so it protects us.
100%.
And so you have to find a practice to figure out what it is that your body's trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Because it's always giving you data.
Yes.
It's just that we've conditioned ourselves to suppress it because we have to keep moving, we have to keep pushing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found so helpful is having honest conversation with my girlfriends, having honest conversations with you about sexuality and where I am in life and not being ashamed about it. Because the more you put it out there, the least you reduce the stigma and the shame around it. And you're like, every human being on this planet, although those that have decided to have a vow of not having sex or not intercourse. I did go through that. I went through a year of like, nope.
Celibacy. I love it.
Celibacy.
Yeah.
And I love that year of celibacy. I learned
Yes.
so much about myself.
Yeah.
And then I felt like I was harnessing all this power.
Yes.
But I was comfortable speaking about it because I chose, and I was part of the Reclamation, is I'm not going to lie to myself. And if I'm not going to lie to myself, that means I'm not going to hide parts of myself because then I'm not being my full self with the people around me. And if those people are my people, they'll accept me.
100%.
With this, as this new evolving version, I think so many of us, as we, embark on a self-healing journey or embark on a wanting to be a better version of ourselves, you also have to think about your circle because there's going to be people that won't look at you with a new set of
Oof, yeah,
eyes. They want to keep you
100%.
in a place that makes them feel comfortable.
Yes.
I was very fortunate and lucky that I was always surrounded by women that were like, yeah, girl, tell me more about it.
Yes.
And I appreciate our friendship, our conversations, and the friendships that I have with the women in my life because they've made me and they created this safety for me. And safety inside, internally, with your thoughts, with your body is what creates pleasure.
Yes. Oh my God, 100%. I'm going to ask you one last question that I ask everybody. What is an orgasmic life to you?
Ooh. An orgasmic life for me is being able to fully feel myself in all aspects. When I touch myself, when I hug myself, when I enjoy a meal, when I respect my talent, when I write something, when I speak, is in that moment being so present that I'm like, oh my God, I love how you sound. I love how you feel. I love how you move. That for me is an orgasmic life.
I love that. Thank you so much for being in this space, for sharing your
you.
beautiful journey. Well, I'm sure we'll have you again to speak more about things, but please tell everybody where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you, all the things.
Yay. Everybody can find me on social media. My handle is Vanessa Santos Leon. And on my website, vsantos.co. And every single month, I run a community for women that are wanting to support, level up, heal, grow without the expense of losing yourself in the process.
I love that
Build
so
a dream,
much.
honor the human.
Build a green. Honor a human. Hell yes. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Please send this to anybody that needs to hear this, which is absolutely everybody. So please send it. Comment on, leave us a review. It really, really helpful. Share with every single friend of yours because these conversations matter. The word that we
they do.
changed the world is like this, having this conversation, sharing it with people so they can think about different ways. So women in power can also do it in a different way. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Vanessa, so much. And I will see you guys next week.